Whatever you want. Let's just go to let's go with the South.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. So let me fast forward there. Where am I at? Oh, I gotta get this at.
All right, so South region here.
South region, first round.
First round. What we'll do, just show note here. We'll for time's sake, we'll go through the Midwest and South complete regions as far as our predictions, and then we'll pick up tomorrow late afternoon, early evening with the East and the West to make sure we have all of our picks out before games start on Thursday. That video will be up and ready to go. So between the two recordings, you'll have our complete predictions before the games start. So
fantastic.
It is. So let's start off. We got Houston and Longwood. I guess really the only question here is what's the spread?
The spread is 23.5. What I was probably up from that from what you have currently.
I don't think I'm touching that one.
Yeah, it is humongous. I can't imagine, first of all, sort of another lower over under, but still, it's one of those things where Houston coming off the way they lost.
Oh, yeah.
They've had a pinch shot of just beating the crap out of people like all year long against when they've been way better. And you're probably going to catch Houston's all their full attention.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I wouldn't hammer Houston in that number, to be honest with you, but Houston beating Longwood, I think it would be by whatever, it would be a bigger upset than Purdue's upset last year.
I don't know about Longwood.
Coming off the game.
I don't know about Longwood, but their conference here, it looks like they limped to they probably got hot in their conference tournament here, if I'm guessing.
I think in non-conference they played some big boys and got just I could be wrong. I feel like I've seen that name with some scores.
Yeah.
They played some. You got it up now?
Yeah, I'm putting it up. So
yeah, they're gonna get absolutely boat raced. I can't. I'm actually kind of surprised it's 23.5. Really. They really do not think Longwood is going to score.
No. 13 losses. To the likes of Dayton, Radford, just yikes.
Yeah. Early prediction there, Houston to cover that spread, but certainly to win the game.
Yeah. I concur.
This is Nebraska, Texas A&M. This is one of the more intriguing 8-9 games of the tournament. Really.
Yeah.
One of the more intriguing first round games of the tournament.
Yeah, I think that for me, I defer to you on this one just because I feel like
I really don't know.
Well, I feel like I have Nebraska here, and I think that is mostly just kind of Big Ten bias, knowing what I know.
Sure.
I just don't think that. I think that Nebraska had a very good year within the Big Ten. They're very competent, and I don't know that if you bring Texas A&M and put them in the Big Ten, they're very good at all.
You might be in, and I think going into this tournament, I really kind of wanted to bet on Texas A&M. Like I thought there'd be a team like I thought that okay, and I figured they might be 8-9, they might be 10. I was kind of hoping you might have something where it's like they're playing a weaker like 7 seed.
Yeah.
Like a Dayton, like they're 7 like that. They're playing a Dayton. I love them a lot. like, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So Nebraska has never won an NCAA tournament game. I think it's 7 tries prior. So I know that sounds certainly no precedent there. And A&M is a very tough out. They've shown the ability. They've had some bad losses, but some really quality wins. I mean,
Yes.
tough conference, much like the Big Ten. Probably a little bit better top-heavy conference. Certainly has some impressive wins against some very good teams. Played well late too because they really weren't a tournament team until the last week or two. That's what got them in. Nebraska was kind of already in there and just kind of hung around and whatever. And you can see they're far. They've got some guys that can really play, and I think they're very well coached. I think that actually, Buzz Williams, kind of a wild coach. Hoiberg, very under control as far as that goes. Very highly efficient X's and O's guy. I mean, you're talking about a guy there that he played a little bit in the NBA, had a nice little role on some Pacers teams there. Other I know some other teams he was on too. I think like the Bulls, maybe the Bulls. Yeah, he played for a couple of them right there. So he's got. I think they just gave him an extension as well too. Not that really affects how you do in the game, but Tominaga can really play. Mast for his size that plays guard. That's a matchup nightmare for a lot of dudes.
Yeah, he's more of a wing, but I mean, he's their leading rebounder, kind of a do-it-all.
Yeah, he can post you up and shoot from and then really how they lost to Illinois. Honestly, I think they're gonna have a little fire lit, and the fact that they've never won into a tournament game, and not even trying to play to that side, but just on if you shoot dice, eventually you're gonna hit that Yo 11 bet, babe. I mean, seven's easy, 6s and 8s, but I feel like they're gonna call that Yo, and they're gonna find a way to win this game. And neither one is actually gonna be very far from Memphis, Tennessee, where it looks like the game's being played.
Yeah,
I actually think that the winner of that game might give Houston a game. To be very honest with you, I think that might be their undoing. To be honest,
I think that
for that, as far as that goes, so that's what makes it hard because I think they're both capable of beating Houston if they play well.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M's familiarity with Houston is probably unwittingly rooting for Nebraska, not understanding how tough of a game that will be for them.
So Nebraska's played good teams. He's beaten Purdue soundly. The only team to really make Purdue look kind of bad, really. I mean, all things considered.
I just think they shot out of their mind. I mean, they did the little things.
I mean, if that game, the return game at Mackey, they'd have got beat bad too. I think 10-15. Especially after we lost that game.
Yeah,
I just think Nebraska not winning a tournament game, there's going to be a little something extra there. So and they're actually slightly favored, 1.5 point favorite. Don't think I mess around with the spread.
I have the 1.5. What do you have it at?
I have 1.5.
That's crazy. Yeah, don't touch that, kids.
Yeah, that's another 8-9K away. But I got Nebraska. I think I'm with you. I'm rolling.
Yeah, and it's going to be a good game.
A lot of red and white in that next game.
Yeah, the more I look at Texas A&M's schedule and good and bad, it just they're tested. They are not going to be afraid,
but they're real unpredictable too. And I think Nebraska's been pretty steady.
Yeah, exactly.
Not been the best road team, but if the last few weeks they played better on the road.
Yeah.
And they really punched Illinois in the mouth. That if Illinois didn't have some of those kind of pieces that they do, like dynamic. I mean, you can make a case that Terrence Shannon Jr., even though I don't like him, I mean, he's a great player or whatever, but I don't like what he's maybe accused of being done. I don't like the Illini fan base whatsoever. They're delusional. But that notwithstanding, Illinois has got the pieces to be really, really good team. And when they get going on you, it's just like it was just too much for Nebraska,
Yeah.
So but they were beating the crap out of them to start that game. I mean, so they obviously. I think I actually the more I think about it, the more I like them. Even I'm liking them more and more and more as the more I think about it.
Yeah.
Even talking to you. All right, Wisconsin, James Madison. You want to go first or me?
Go ahead, because I know that you have some takes on James Madison.
So James Madison opened up the
Looking into
season.
it.
They probably had a hard time in the off season to get the schedule where they're trying to get, who can we get to play us that's really good? And, Michigan State's SID, I'm not sure that is, but the person that puts their schedule together, uh, he had the infinite wisdom to say, hey, let's go ahead and agree to this home game against James Madison. And then James Madison went to Michigan State game one, really took it to Michigan State. They had to fight tooth and nail to kind of make it interesting at the end. But it's just like it's almost like right away you could tell there's something, and it's the very first game of the year. But right away you can tell something there's like Michigan State almost should be better than this. Like they just did, but it's the first game. So you don't want to rush to judgment. But it's almost like that situation for Michigan State kind of started the season off on a they're preseason ranked fourth in the country, right behind Purdue, preseason ranked third. And it almost started their season off on a lot of doubt in themselves. Like you didn't feel good after that game. And then, you get in a game against like Duke and you find a way to lose it, or Arizona and you find a way you can't win the game. So they played a lot of good non-conference games in Michigan State, and they
away as well. They're non-conference. When you're in that spot, that's the concession you have to give. Yeah. Is we'll come to you to pick the check up.
Yeah, and they have like all these high hopes. Some of the highest ranking they've had in preseason in years. They return all these players, return their backcourt, 3 guards. Like you have all these up and coming. You got Xavier Booker, like high-end, huge recruited talent, 5-star talented player as far as the recruiting rankings go. And so, it really has put Michigan State in a tailspin because it wasn't like they kind of like lost the game. It was like James Madison went in there and like, we think we're going to win the game. And that's a lot for a team, They didn't look at that number and thought like, we just think we can hang with them. When you watch them play that game, and then watch them play some other games too, and it's like, man, they got some dudes. Like, and they didn't let the moment, like Michigan State make a run. They didn't let that moment get too big. And the Breslin Center is a very hard place to play.
Oh, for sure.
And so I think for different reasons, it almost like sprungboard both seasons into like opposite trajectories, as far as the season long goes. So, you have James Madison maybe 5.5 point dog now, 4.5, 5.5.
Let me look it up. I'm just looking at their schedule. 31-3. Like I said earlier, winning is a skill.
Yeah,
you gotta play. Yeah, I mean they're honestly They lost both games to Appalachian State.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So that's like
by a couple points each time. So
App State was actually a really good level. They were supposed to win the tournament.
Yeah.
And they were, they were good in their conference.
They would have
been like the team no one wanted to play in this thing.
And then their other loss, it was a 10-point loss. I forget who it was. I just had it up, but I mean, they feasibly could be undefeated.
Yeah,
easily. I mean, within a few points of being undefeated.
So, after looking at that, you might give you a little second. I don't know what your thoughts were. Now, Wisconsin's been playing way, way better, and they were very good at the start of the year. It had a bad January, February stretch, especially really February.
It was really bad.
Very bad.
Unrecognizable.
You'd like written them off, and I'm like, well, all it takes is that little spark to get you going because they got players like Stores. They've got dudes, and not winning the Big Ten. I'm sure the tournament. I'm sure they felt like
what stood out to me the Purdue game from a Wisconsin standpoint is how much they obviously Stores there, obviously Chucky, but they depend a lot on Blackman as a freshman.
Yeah,
in spots, and he is not disciplined. You could literally call an offensive foul on him just about any given play.
He gets away with it too. It's
He
wild.
does. He smoked a couple layups, took some ill-advised shots. I think that I can see a spot. Maybe it's not this game. I don't know what we'll end up picking. I'll defer to you on this one. You're kind of talking me into James Madison here, but
And
it's a tough spot.
and
I
there's
just
a lot of. Go
I
ahead.
think Wisconsin played their best game against Purdue, and they shot their wad.
They did, and they hung in there for a long time against Illinois too. And there's a lot of familiarity there, a lot of scouting. We know what people do. It just makes it that much easier.
I was just blown away, like at this juncture of the year, how much they
play
have store, how many
ball
bad shots that they allow Blackman to take is just. I think he's going to be a decent player if he does.
A good player,
but I just, man. It was rough to watch sometimes. It could have been really. He could have lost that game for them in several different ways.
And the crazy thing is like Wisconsin is good enough to go far in this thing. Like,
oh sure, they have size.
I think McNeese is a very good 5'12". I mean, very good 12 seed, and I think they actually got the worst. I think they're playing the best team.
Best 12.
Play. I mean, I'd have to go look and see what the other two 12s are. I can't remember.
UAB.
And UAB's good too, but
Grand Canyon. I like Grand Canyon a lot.
So all of them are very good. So honestly,
they are. But
last year no 12 seeds won, so you already know that trend is that never happens. So that's coming. And I think this is a great spot. And I like James Madison to cover if it's 5.5, and money.
5.5.
And I think this is a spot for them.
Playing at the Barclays Center.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So
I don't know, man. I just look at you're kind of talking to me. Are you picking James Madison?
I think we don't have really think, not that that really matters. You do have to mix this up. Some we don't really have that yet. I was really on the fence on McNeese, to be honest with you. And when it comes money time, we might revisit that. But I think James Madison wins this game here.
All right.
And are you cool with punching that through? I mean, it's
absolutely.
It's when I watch them play, I'm like, I'm glad we're not playing them.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
I'm not just saying like I watch them play. I'm like. They're not one of the teams like I don't want to see in my bracket, but I was thinking like depending on where they would be at, I'm like I knew we wouldn't play them first.
Yeah.
But I'm like I just do not have to be like I'm glad they're not in the other spot as the McNeese, and maybe I might regret that in a week, but I don't think so.
It's really good insight. That's the value here with you is force us to take a deeper look at it. I think that the casual is just gonna be like. No, I just watched Wisconsin beat Purdue, and there's no chance who's this James Madison, and I think that would be a mistake.
Wagering on games of any kind, whether the NFL and the college football we'll talk about in the future, and on college basketball, it's like dice. You have to have like poker. You have to have no memory. Your last hand, or even like in basketball, your last play cannot matter. Like you cannot let that carry over. The problem is people watch these games and have a recency bias. It's human nature. We all do. But you have to separate that from what's also there. And it's for the exact same reason. And now sometimes that's a thing. Several games in a row, you're talking about a trend. Wisconsin has definitely played better. But it's like, James Madison's already beat the team they beat Wisconsin. That can beat Wisconsin. You know what I'm saying? Actually, Wisconsin might have beat them twice. But my point is, like, James Madison can hang with Wisconsin. They know it already. They're probably happy about playing Wisconsin, to be honest with you. So that's me on that one. So you got Duke, Vermont maybe next?
Yep, Duke, Vermont, 4-13 matchup. This is Friday, 7:10 tip.
Yep. Where's the game at?
It is also at the Barclays Center, so Brooklyn.
Okay, all right. So at least it's not like in Charlotte.
No.
Games of the future or Raleigh or down the road from wherever. So that would. Now I think Duke has been a little under. I think they've been a team that they started off well, probably not what they're capable of being. Like, but when and I think they've actually had an underwhelming season. Clearly, didn't win the regular season, got swept by North Carolina.
Yeah.
Didn't have a very good tournament showing. So you're in a spot here where I think this is Duke's chance to make something of their season.
Yep.
Vermont is actually a pretty good team. Duke has lost occasionally to a team like this in the past. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't know that I'll have Duke covering that spread. It's 11.5 or probably.
Yeah, 11.5 is a.
Yeah. And so I'd have to do a little bit more of a deep dive, but I think at this point, I like Duke in this spot.
Yeah, I think just straight up Duke. No problem there.
All right. I don't know. I'm going to have to fast forward to the next one, or I guess you can go ahead and.
So we got 6-11 is Texas Tech, NC State.
Texas Tech. Texas Tech, NC State. What is? Well, I've got this trying to pull this up here. What is your take on that game? You were a pretty big fan of Texas Tech earlier.
I think that NC State is a fun story, just with the coach, likely out of a job if they don't go on this run.
Yeah, that's a great story.
And it turned into a 2-year contract extension and a pretty sizable bonus. And I mean, I don't know from a player standpoint that matters, other than for the younger players, there's comfort in stability, and you can kind of breathe. And I know the coach is going to feel that way. And I think that, speaking as a coach, when you're coaching without pressure, it's no different than being a player. If you can manage to play without pressure, you play free and the results are much better. So I think that from that standpoint, NC State is interesting to me. Yeah. But I don't know that I'm going to pick them over Texas Tech. I think it's an interesting, fun story. But I think that it's going to be, and I think there is going to be some carryover as far as how the game turns out.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to go Texas Tech here. Just another, and I am cognizant of, the Big 12. I think that we're in agreement that the Big 12 kind of eats their own, half eats their own and half overrated, whatever that looks like when you lay it all out on the. So there, I'm aware of that narrative in my own head, but it's hard to identify, who that is, who the pretender is in this group, because they all look good, They all feed off of each other, and the spike games are fun, and they have good players. It's just you wonder, who the pretender is, because there's at least one or two. So they have this game at 4.5 points. Texas Tech, 4.5 point favorite. Man, that's probably about right in my mind. Yeah,
it looks like that line's come down since the opening one's 5.5. So that's one of the first ones I've seen actually go that way.
Yeah.
Which means that the money's coming in.
I think that the public is probably hearing this, fun story of NC State.
Well, if you watch them play, they actually really looked good. They got that burn. They had an injury situation where he came back, and he's just a rebounding monster. Like he can really play.
Absolutely. And kind of an undersized 5.
I think my only thing is like they've obviously been in March Madness mode for 5 straight games. They do have a Thursday turnaround. That's pretty quick for like you played Saturday night late. You got a lot of how you got in the tournament. I really.
So this is in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, so that's closer to NC State by far. It's not far at all for them, probably.
No.
Hours. Hell,
Love
they
it more.
played at Pittsburgh this year. I don't know if they played there at home, but they might have played at Pittsburgh. So they might have already played there or right there.
Probably. Yeah.
Ish. So certainly familiar with that territory. Man, oof.
It's a fun story. I mean, you could talk me into either way. I just
God, I hate doing that because I actually like Texas Tech as a team, but it's one of those things where I almost like. I don't think the ACC has been very well represented. Clearly,
yeah.
as far as Virginia's done now, so now you're like looking at what Duke, North Carolina, NC State. That's it. That's it. Or Clemson. That's fine.
Clemson as well.
I think that's it. Right.
I believe so. North Carolina, Clemson.
Clemson's actually. So I don't think there's a whole lot of spots for some of these teams that are mid to low, level teams in the ACC to make a run. Not that this team necessarily will make a run, but I watched them play, and their guard, I think I kind of like them. I don't know. For a bracket's sake, I'd be okay one way or another. I think I'm kind of leaning NC State, to be honest with you. I think they kind of carry on the run. That means that's a money line underdog bet there. They're getting 5.5, so maybe that's one of the things I might stay away from in real money because it's the kind of thing that you get too loaded up on and get excited about. Because I don't feel that strongly about it to where like it's a stay away as far as a wagering spot. At this point, I could change my mind. They really, really. I thought North Carolina would put them away, and it's a rival, and they hadn't won the ACC tournament since '87, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is insane. So, to beat North Carolina, but then, like I said, they really got lucky and barely beat Virginia. Virginia kind of pissed that game away. So if they play like that game, so, but you did win. They were really up for that.
They got Duke before that.
Yeah,
that's a huge.
They won 5 games again in 5 days, and
yeah,
were very good teams. So, and North Carolina, I don't think necessarily played bad. I just think that NC State was really up for it and played hard. So you can certainly see that their ceiling is good. And I think some of the, kind of going back to the Oregon thing, I think they had some situations where they had injury situations. And when that guy came back, that changed their dynamic of their team.
Yeah.
And so I think from that standpoint alone, I kind of think you're a live dog here. And I think we should maybe entertain another 11-6.
All right.
If you're okay with that.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's tough though, but it's 5.5, 4.5 points though.
Yeah.
Points right now. Kentucky, Oakland next, right? So we got next.
Yep. Yeah, Kentucky, Oakland. We got this on.
We got a little more inside in Oakland. I don't want to spend too much time on this one.
Thursday. Yeah. So we got this Thursday, 7:00 tip, 7:10 tip.
Yeah, we might be having to get back out there at some point. We might be
Pittsburgh. So Oakland is an interesting program, both on the men's and women's side. What they'll do is they understand that from a recruiting standpoint, they have so much competition, and what they will do is they'll kind of, for lack of a better term, they'll throw everything at the wall and see what sticks as far as offers. So a lot of programs get pissed at them because they're offering kids probably way earlier than they should, and hopefully that relationship that they build early on carries over, and they get a player or two in every class that is kind of punching above their weight, Oakland's weight, it's a regional type player that you wouldn't expect to go to Oakland that may have other better options, we'll say. And that seems to be a pretty consistent thing. And so then what you're running into is do those players mesh well? And the fact of the matter is being that they're pretty much all from the same region, they tend to know each other. They tend to mesh well, and he's kind of got a little pipeline going. So that's my insight to it, and just hearing people talk, and and it's starting to pay off. They had a great season, 23-11, by their standards, and
A team you've been high on for their level.
yeah, for sure. And then they play hard, they play together, and I know that they have talent, a talent level that a lot of people would be quick to dismiss, but they have some kids on that roster that can do some things. So, that being said, they're not going to beat Kentucky.
Yeah, I think we plug Kentucky in here. This is one of those other situations where I think the world would be stunned. I mean, they would maybe fire Coach Cal.
Yeah.
I mean, they would be stunned. This would almost be like worse than losing when they were 2-15 to St. Peter, because at this point it's like he doesn't have that much success for the players he's got on his team. So I don't really see a scenario where Kentucky loses this game. In fact, I really, if you look at it from like what is capable, Kentucky can beat these dudes by 30, 35 points if they get it going.
For sure.
13 and a half. So I would actually, this is a time where I take a favor of that size and win the game. I don't know that much about Oakland. I know they're competitive.
Yeah, I mean, they played.
But I don't think they, first of all, almost nobody has dudes that can hang with Kentucky. And I certainly don't think Oakland does.
Yeah. No, they don't. But should Oakland win this, the way that he recruits, he's going to be shopping at a new store.
Let's just put it this way. Of the teams that were going to be 3 seeds, this is the one I did not want to see in Purdue's bracket.
Yeah.
That's tell you everything you want to know. How I feel like the upside of this team is unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. I think that they, to their credit, they started to do the little things.
And they still, how they do and what they do and not playing any defense, that'll catch up with you to a point. I don't think it's here, though.
No, not here.
Over under, though, it's 162. They expect a ton of points to be scored by Kentucky.
Yeah.
This might be a situation where if you can get Kentucky individual over, which you can.
13.5.
No, I'm saying their individual over under for them personally.
Well,
that's happening.
Yeah.
Unless Oakland's good at defense that I don't know about.
But, yeah. No, I think that Kentucky, like I said, they're starting to do the little things.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think that this is one where they run away because Oakland is on the tracks here.
They're one of those teams that, like, man, when they look good, they look so good. And when they just, don't have it, it's wild. It's like, who is this team?
Well, a lot of people do not like Coach Cal, obviously. Yeah. But I think that one thing that has stood out to me is he's not afraid to put his NBA caliber players on blast publicly.
Yeah.
And he'll challenge them to do these little things. Like, you could tell he was fed up with the lack of defense. I mean, when you're so much better offensively than defensively, and you're just straight up not giving effort on defense, and you call that out publicly, and you start, threatening the only thing that they really care about, really, really care about, your minutes. Here you are. So, I mean.
Yeah, and they can pull somebody off the bench and you won't play again. So
exactly, exactly.
You might not get him back.
Yeah, so that's an easy one here. As much as I like Oakland, I don't think this one's close.
No. So the next one, we don't know who's going to be playing till tomorrow. But it'll be Florida, Boise State, Colorado, and as good as Boise State.
I'd love to see Colorado, Florida. I think that'd be an awesome game.
Yeah. And so the thing about it is that Florida's playing Boise State. I like Florida a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
Against Colorado, I'm not so sure.
When is this game played? Tomorrow at 4:30?
It's a Friday game. Because the playing game is tomorrow night too. So this is the other one.
Well, when is this? When is the playing game? I'm saying
tomorrow night.
Maybe
so the teams that produce playing, and then this is the other game we're playing in tomorrow.
No, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, my pick does depend on who wins this play.
Yeah, and so I really don't want to predict that because
let's hold off on that one.
Yeah,
we can because
and honestly, the line will be different, and the injury to Florida bothers me a little bit some too.
I agree.
He's a good player.
I think if
But
Florida
injury, I liked Florida to maybe be an Elite Eight type team.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, but
I agree.
One. And now, if you're playing Colorado,
I tend to pick. I want to see. I want to see how they look tomorrow. But
how they play. So I really can't. We don't have enough information right now.
Yeah, no, I was impressed with Colorado in a loss.
If they're playing Boise State, I like Florida.
Yeah, agree.
But Colorado, we'll see how they play, and if they, and maybe we'll see how Boise State plays. Maybe but spread will be Florida will be favored over that game, probably 3-4 points if it's probably Boise State. So we'll have to pass on that one. Marquette, Western Kentucky.
Yeah, this is the 2-15, but you probably know a little more about Western Kentucky than most people know about 15 seeds.
Yeah, honestly, they're probably the 15 seed. We have to go look at some others. They're probably the 15 seed that could carry the trend of winning in the first round based on who they're, and not that Marquette, because Marquette, I think Cole could be back, but the question is like, will you be back at like 75%? And the other thing is like, how do you integrate Cole? So you can't like not play him, kind of half-ass play him.
Yeah,
playing kind of well without him, and then Cam Jones has really stepped up with Marquette.
For sure.
It's a massive spread. I don't think Marquette's happy how the way last season ended.
No. That was a big loss.
Unfortunately, I think Western Kentucky has the ability to be in the game, but similar to like what Purdue and what happened to Arizona last year, their tournament ran quick. They did win their first game, and then they got beat by Michigan State last year. But like, when you return a lot of those same players. And Shaka Smart does not have a whole lot of tournament success outside of the VCU Final Four year.
Yeah.
He doesn't – I don't think he's been to a Sweet 16 outside of that, actually. So he's not – so people ragged on Painter or whatever, but it's like, some of the – Barnes and, Matt Painter has been to 6 Sweet 16s, And so like I think 6 of the 14 tournaments he's made, he's been to the Sweet 16. He's been to our 14. I got to look at it, but it's like he's been in 18, whatever it is. So whatever it is half the time he's won a game, he goes to the Sweet 16. He just has some, and then half again those times the team's either won it all or Final Four, or like when he got knocked out, whenever it was, that team was very, very good. So Either way, Marquette. It's 14.5, pretty big number. I thought that number was bigger earlier in the week. I think that's dropped. I don't know what it is now. Maybe you got a different number.
Yeah, 14.5 is hefty.
A lot of points. I think I would take Western Kentucky to cover that. I have a hard time dogging them, but that's one of those things that you really like 3 or 4 other dogs that have got not necessarily that margin, but you can hit a showstopper if you're like, let's just throw that, that game on there with 2 others. And it's one of those things where if the first one of these like those hit, and then you kick it back and it hits, and then like let's say you got James Madison on the back end, and that's your nightcap game, and you've got like your $30 bet pays like $2,000. You just do like you just take like Wisconsin money, like it's one of those things where you could hedge the hell out of that and be up, by 800, 900,000, if you got the bankroll for it. But like, if it's a sure thing, you just load up. I mean, there's no reason not to. I have a great story about that going on, but that's a different story. Like, but that's one way to look at like parlays, honestly. If you take some teams that have already covered the first 2 parts, and it's a pretty nice parlay, and it's like that team win versus the other team win. And let's say it's like at halftime and then the underdog is still winning. Boy, you get great value on hammering the original favorite to hedge that bet, where it's like you're in that platinum unicorn area where you're guaranteed to win money because you've got plus points on both sides. But we can get more into those kind of details later. But I think I have to take Western Kentucky to cover. And partially just because like getting – and where's the game being played at, mind you?
It's Indy.
Because you're going to be right there. So honestly, Western Kentucky is closer to Indy than Marquette is.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Western Kentucky, Bowling Green. So I literally drive through there. I'll be driving through Western Kentucky in about 8 hours to 9 hours. So I'll be driving through it. So that is literally like 3 hours, 3.5 hours from Indianapolis. Like, so Marquette was Wisconsin, so you're talking about like 6 hours, maybe 7. I don't know, 6.
Yeah.
Indy, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's closer. And plus, Brandon Newman played at Purdue. He's played tons of times in that building, very comfortable. That's a quick trip up to 65. I mean, I like, other than just like, hey, a team is really hard to make a team look bad 2 times in a row that are really good in the tournament in the first round. Well, not first, but like the Kolek integration will be interesting because if they say he's good to go, and which is what I've heard, if he's close to 100, like I think he's the one that had like a oblique injury. The way that Shaka Smart described that is a very, very painful injury that is just like very, like it's not an easy thing to like push through. And I'm sure and that's why he's been held out because one of the things he's got rested. But, as far as that goes, I think Western Kentucky is a good cover spot here, and they might be a live dog. I mean, that sounds like it's a big point spread. That's really because it's 2-15, and a lot of people really like Marquette. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Marquette's pretty good. I don't think I'd lay that big number. I can tell you that. So, if I was going to wager it right now, it's Western Kentucky. But, it's come. If I wake up on Friday morning, bro, and I'm like, I got this team, Western Kentucky's going to win the game, that is MC Hammer time, dude. That is happening for sure because those are never wrong when I get those little Spidey tinglers going. We can carry on with so this is the first rounds. Do you want to?
Well, we can go back down to the Midwest and finish that out. I think this Florida unknown here is going to it's going to fuck with some stuff here. So
it really is. Do you want to?
Let's finish out the Midwest and let's pick it up from there.
Pick it up tomorrow night. Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow night. Yep, that sounds good. We'll have all these out.
As soon as what we'll do is we'll explain as soon as that game is played and decided, the Boise State Colorado game.
Yeah, we'll do the other probably and kind of finish that one.
Get on here and finish this bracket out.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's finish. Let's finish strong with this Midwest. Region. Let me get down here. So let's go back to the top here. So we got Purdue, TCU.
Okay.
I don't think Purdue has a problem here. Honestly, I think that playing in Indy, I think they're going to be on a mission this first weekend to make a statement, and I think they do that. It may not be particularly close as far as 30-point win, 25-point win against TCU, only because I think that the first 2 games, not only are they going to try to make a statement, but I think it's going to be more of a first half statement where they try to get up big and they try to stay healthy. So I don't know that you're going to see, I'll say this, they're going to make a statement in that the games are never going to be in question.
And that spread's probably going to be somewhere to the set. If regardless of the way, 7 to 10 points, probably closer to 10.
Yeah.
And
it's gonna feel like
that's a lot for them to cover, but I would not be surprised if they do that.
Yeah,
just because if they get up in the game, and they have that kind of like, and teams have taken our best punch and then like we've knocked them out and it's been over. I think especially teams that were clearly better than, but for someone that is the advantage of this into a tournament is if you've not seen Zach Edey and played against him in person. It is just at the 25, 30-minute mark of playing that dude.
Yeah.
You're tired of rebounding and boxing that dude out. I promise you. I can't even imagine.
Well, and everyone has film.
Classic. The other thing about it is like, here's the deal. In all 4 Purdue's losses, they've turned the ball over 14 plus times. If they keep it at 11 or 12 or under, they're almost unbeatable because they out rebound everybody they play. They actually got, I think, and then so the turnovers were low. And the thing about it was like Wisconsin, people were like complaining about the foul situation, that situation. Like Wisconsin shot like 25 more times than Purdue.
Yeah.
Which is insane that Purdue's in the game if you look at like that metric, Yeah. But we went to the foul line to make up for it. But you turn the ball over, it's just someone is careless, But either way, like Purdue here, and
Agreed.
we don't know spreads on these things yet, but I probably could cover that.
We can get into that later as they come out.
We'll do it as those rounds come up.
We got Gonzaga, Samford. To be honest with you, on my bracket I filled out, like I said, I originally had Kansas, and we got that news. I have my pencil here. I erased Kansas, and I have Samford, and I finished out the bracket, and I actually have Samford over Gonzaga. That's what I have.
Really?
Wow. I do, but that's just one where I'm trying to steal games here on a family bracket. So I think that, from an analysis standpoint, I think that if you're looking for it's just hard. It's hard to make that pick. Like I said, I think that Gonzaga is seeded properly for the first time in a very long time to where they probably don't feel pressure as they always do. I feel bad for them in that spot. They're overrated, but like, it's just like, fuck, you have no chance.
I think I actually think the crappy thing is if like it's Kansas there and then Kansas the next one.
Yeah.
I think Purdue gets the Mercury outboard out. Like I really, truly believe that.
Yeah.
And I think clearly if Samford wins this game and they go back and win by 53 points, I think that's almost like a detriment because it's like there's no way. Like you'll have a false confidence, but it's not realistic to the. You know what I'm saying? It's There's several years going back. I was young, very young, and like Purdue played like Florida in the non-conference one year, and going like 30 like years back. Like I think Everett Stevens, like that kind of team, right around that era, maybe 87, 88. It was like whatever, and they played them and they beat Florida like by 32, and then they played them like in the second round, and Florida beat them, and it's like the first time neutral, just beat the crap out of them. So like entering the tournament time, a little bit different, same team, but like how do you beat someone by 30 and then lose to them later? Like that's a big, that's it. So I would be like, the thing about it is like there would be no pressure on Samford because there would be like you lost by 53, and Purdue would be like, something there's like no upside.
Yeah.
Because like you're probably not gonna be by 53 again, and I don't know, and they can really shoot. And they got
I think that Purdue would welcome that matchup for sure. Knowing
we would take it, and we might.
I don't think they would, but I think the danger for Purdue is they really wouldn't.
Maybe they play tight.
Well, I don't even know that. I'm thinking more in terms of the next opponent, which would potentially at that point be Tennessee. But that's not really how you want. I don't. Maybe it is, but to me.
So we can do what you'd like. I kind of.
No, I mean I've already changed to Gonzaga. I just
have you? Because my thing is like if Gonzaga is like the safest play there, because there's also that Gonzaga Purdue matchup too.
Yeah,
but clearly fascinating that there's a very strong likelihood there's a rematch of someone Purdue's already played. I mean, it's very possible. It's highly likely.
Yeah.
Nick State could be there, and then that might be a little bit even scarier still. So I think Gonzaga probably gets there. They've they played some people certainly capable of winning. I think they've been thrown in the trash, and I think they're probably at this point. I don't want to say they're overseeded, but for the first time, they're not. They're not like they're not. I don't say they're underseeded, but they're not. For the first time, they're not overseeded. They're seeded correctly, probably. Let's say, and that's like the Gonzaga of old, and so that makes them more dangerous in that.
I agree,
in my opinion. So I'd say Gonzaga if you're on, from that standpoint, if nothing else.
Yeah. Let's drop down here. Oregon Creighton.
Man,
it's a great game.
It is a great game. Really interesting spread of that game. Will be like Creighton small, like favorite as well, but not as much as you. If there's enough points, I think it'd be Oregon. I think I'd take Oregon.
Yeah.
Man. I think I'm gonna have to go Creighton here.
I agree.
They've got some pieces. Kalk Renner in the middle can take you out, can really play. He's like one of the better bigs in the whole country, but can versatile, like good player, really good player. And I think
if he chooses to play the wrong way as a big though against Oregon,
that might not go. So like
it's not going to go as it plans for.
They're not really deep. He gets into foul trouble, but Oregon has some depth issues as well. So it's kind of a great matchup for Creighton in the sense like, and the thing about Creighton is like if they really get it going.
Yeah, no, I
think
that Creighton. I think big picture Creighton has their downfall is they're going to have a very small. They're going to have a very small margin for error.
I agree.
But I think that Oregon is in that same boat, and I think that Creighton has a better pedigree and a better overall season, and they've exercised those demons of having a short bench, whereas Oregon is going to feel pressure at this point in the year to continue to keep marching on. They're going to have to play that perfect game that they played, much like in their conference tournament championship, and it's hard to sustain.
It is. I think that Creighton probably has enough just to outshoot them.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, yeah. And that's what you want to do. If you have a force inside like that, if you can spread that team out and space the floor, then it really, you can start to pick a team apart that, hasn't played together as a unit all year. So I think that Creighton is probably a pretty safe bet there.
Yeah.
Texas, Tennessee, very good matchup here. You're going to see some athletes.
I guess that's the next one, huh?
It is.
Look above that. I guess that's Creighton. That's it all. Okay, damn. Motors through here. Texas, Tennessee. Woo! I think I might have a hard time trying to convince you this one.
Are you going to pick Texas here?
I mean, I've strongly considered it. It would be surprising. People would be very surprised by that. It's pretty hard to. I mean, I don't know. Like Tennessee is very, very good. Be a lot of ugly ass orange, not in my color wheel.
To me, this here is where Tennessee playing in a much superior conference pays off against Texas playing in, for lack of a better term, a suspect conference, top to bottom.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because everybody else thinks that it's the other way around.
I know they do.
I actually agree. Like we've been on that.
I think that, Florida, Kentucky, Alabama,
the depth of the quality.
Those are fucking like.
Yeah, the top of the SEC is better than the top of the Big 12.
Yeah,
and then the middle is, I think, a little like the middle. Some of the some teams that are average in the Big 12 might be better than some of the average teams in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
But you're kind of sliding down. I don't know. I think that Texas will be a live dog in this game, but I think certainly for bracket, I think we should put Tennessee here. But I don't think it's as easy as people think.
No. I know what you're saying. Like I said, I think it's going to be.
I think Tennessee would rather play one of the other teams. I mean,
for sure, for sure.
My opinion,
Yeah.
Where's that game being played at? I feel like it's.
Hold on.
That's not Pittsburgh. That's over like Charlotte, maybe, or something. I don't know. Maybe over there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. That would be Charlotte. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, it's one of those things. Like, that's the kind of matchup that happens, where it's like, that team is very capable. I mean, personally, I think I would rather see Texas win, because I think that the type of I think if Tennessee's not in that region, I think it's a pretty good chance producing the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree.
But I guess we'll say Tennessee here.
Okay, I think that's
the sound move. I think Texas will cover. I think they'll end up being like a 7-point dog if that happens. And I think they're a live dog, and they might, game time, I might be like, hey, let's fire up on that. But you got to see both. You got to see all these teams play too.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict spreads in second games, even if I know them, because you don't know what they're looking like.
Yeah. Purdue Gonzaga.
Yeah. First game we played, we were down to Gonzaga. We had to play really, really well. We had to bring Miles Colvin off the bench. Got really hot, hit some threes. They played really well. I think there was a little bit of tournament kind of jitters, and once we finally got that lead, we were able to take control of the game. Yeah. But they're very well coached. I think this region is tailor-made for Purdue to certainly get to the Elite Eight.
Sure, I think
probably the Final Four, honestly, clearly, but I think they get the best of Gonzaga here if this is the matchup, and then there's a very real chance that they don't even play Gonzaga. So, if you're talking about a bracket situation, what's the most likely thing? I mean, Purdue's going to be playing in this game, so. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a chance Gonzaga's not playing in this game, but there's a very small chance Purdue's not playing.
Yeah.
Like, very small. Like, very small.
Yeah.
So when you're just talking about advancing people, I think if you're just taking straight bracket strategy, you have to go Purdue there, even if – because they're playing Kansas, who are you taking? If they're playing anybody there, who are you taking? Gonzaga's the best of those, of the options, I think. Hardest matchup, but you got to take Purdue there. I don't think you're surprised by that at all.
No.
Down here, Tennessee Creighton.
I think that this here is an easier game than Texas for Tennessee, in my opinion.
It probably is. I really hate going.
I think that they're going to have to be disciplined and run people off the 3-point line and rotate and really be locked in, boxing out. But I think that those are very fundamental things, and I think that
if you can, I like the over in this game.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that when you have
that'll be.
When you have scenarios, when you have a short turnaround to prepare for a team, and the path to winning that
they
game,
will have 5 days.
Yeah, but it's still
not
a team that they're familiar with. Directly familiar with playing. So. And seeing a lot of film on Creighton, I think that it's going to be pretty clear cut where Tennessee's are. And if they do very simple things, like I said, running running players off the 3-point line, getting them uncomfortable off the bounce, boxing out, mitigating, Creighton's big. I just don't see a scenario where Tennessee drops the game unless Creighton gets extremely hot, like where Tennessee becomes undisciplined. They don't close out. They don't, rotate, and Creighton is hitting the extra pass, getting clean looks from distance. And if they miss, Tennessee's not boxing out and they get second chance rebounds,
Yeah.
That's going to be how they beat Tennessee, but there's a lot more that has to go right for Creighton than Tennessee just having to do very basic things to win this game.
The only thing I will say is I think that Creighton has an easier path to get to this game than Tennessee does.
I don't know, man. I think that Oregon game is going to be.
I'm not saying like way easier. I'm just saying like that. I don't think Tennessee is walking there.
No, I think that, like I said, I think that Tennessee. This would be, if we agree that Tennessee's winning this game, I think this will have been an easier game than the Texas game.
I would actually agree with that.
Just because Texas has better
I think that bothers me. The thing that bothers me
playmakers.
That Creighton is so well coached.
Sure.
That it's the kind of game that Rick Barnes loses because he gets in a coaching match. And do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's not that he's not a good coach, right?
Yeah. No, I just
the kind of guy you don't. You know what I'm saying? It's like if Tennessee was very talented and they played Villanova when they had Jay Wright, like who's gonna make the adjustments that you expect to win the game? And the answer is Jay Wright, and it's not, not, you know what I'm saying? Does that make some sense? So McDermott, I think so.
But I don't think that Creighton is like a Princeton where you have to worry about gimmicks.
They're not crazy deep either.
Yeah. And I think that Rick Barnes is going to be able to, it's going to be a very vanilla. He can get out coached. You're absolutely right. But I just don't think that Creighton is throwing a lot of wrinkles into what they do. I think that they're sound, and if you can meet their soundness with discipline, talent wins out in this case.
I think, if you want to do Tennessee, I'm fine with that. I think they're better. I think when it comes time, this actually happens, it comes betting time, we might have to revisit how that goes because I think my gut says that Creighton wins this game, but Tennessee's a better team.
Yeah.
So I think Tennessee Purdue. That's what people would want to see, anyways.
I want to see how they're playing. I just really think that if you can get to the point where you're Tennessee and you get past a Texas team.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where, like right now, just to mix it up, I'd almost be like Texas Creighton.
Yeah.
And then, which I understand, that puts you at a lot of whatever, but
I think the
bracket. We're going I think
I think that these two games right here will end up this Oregon Creighton and Texas Tennessee. Those two games have the potential, if it shakes out that way, to be the most fun games that you're going to watch this entire tournament.
No one, and here's my thing, is I think down at the bottom, and I really do think this, I think no one would be surprised at all if, they'd be surprised, but I think people that really watch basketball understand. I'm not, that's why I think Purdue's got one of the best draws, is because I think that if Oregon got there, they can knock them out. They can lose to Texas. They can lose to Creighton.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, if South Carolina gets there, they could lose that game.
Yeah.
So I think that they just have a lot of. If you look at the top where Purdue's at, they just have Tennessee just has way more landmines. And I'm not saying that Kansas doesn't. They're not good. Gonzaga's certainly going to be. But my thing is first two games are in Indianapolis. I think we'd all be shocked if they're not in the Sweet 16. So,
Yeah.
So then you're talking about like now you got to beat Gonzaga, and I think they're just better than Gonzaga. And now it's sort of like if I'm not saying it from a fan standpoint, I just think that like I have a weird suspicion that like, and they're very good, like I don't know. I do think I actually think where they'll slip up is Texas. To be really honest with you, I agree with you on the Creighton thing, but I think it's just going to be a lot for him.
I can see a scenario where
I think Creighton's coach can out-coach Rick Barnes, and I think Texas can do what they want to beat Tennessee with just how they're going to play.
Yeah, I think that Texas has the ability.
I think Texas is a worse matchup for them, but Creighton's coach will keep that game along with tremendous shooting. And that is like first one to 85.
Yeah, but I just think that Tennessee playing in the conference that they do.
Sure. Oh no, I mean I'm with you. I mean, I think I would have Tennessee against a lot of teams in, and once again we'll see. I think hell, they could, Tennessee probably will smoke St. Peter's, I'm sure, but it's just one of those. I think that this is the area of the bracket. I don't think on the Purdue top part, maybe the McNeese Sanford deal, but I think this bracket here in the Midwest, I think it could fall apart like very easily.
Oh yeah.
Not Purdue, I don't think, but I think like I would not be surprised if it's Carnage Central every other spot. Like really. Like literally, how shocked would you be if I said, South Carolina? How many teams in that bottom part do you think can really actually be in the Elite Eight and meet up with Purdue?
Well, I think honestly, there's a scenario where
I think Colorado State were to beat Texas, it could get interesting.
That's what I was about to say. I think that Colorado State would have a puncher's chance against Texas. I don't think Creighton is in any real danger of losing to Akron. And I'm really confident with Oregon in the first game. Yeah. And I could see a scenario where Oregon beats Creighton, honestly. If Creighton goes cold, for a half.
Tennessee is clearly the safer play because their upside is tremendous. There's I don't have a problem with that. I just think that,
I think that Texas has higher upside, in my opinion, just where I've seen their ceiling.
Last year, I think it was like when Texas had a grinder and beat Penn State to get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
And I think that I've had this weird feeling as soon as I had that thing that Texas is going to beat them. I know that sounds weird, but I'm telling you, and it's early, so we're not dialed into game time yet. And we got to that might be a Thursday game, right? Or no, that'd have to be it'd be a Thursday because that's way later. Because they're in the bottom part, like the Detroit thing would happen later. But I don't know. I had this weird suspicion, and maybe Texas won't win. Who knows? They could go to hell in a handbasket. This will be if it comes down this way, So one little side note there on that St. Peter's Tennessee game. St. Peter Vescovi's brother, the guard for Tennessee, plays at St. Peter's.
Nice.
So little brotherly love. I'm pretty sure that's the case. That's pretty wild. So you get a little brotherly love there. So maybe his brother's better and wants to prove a point. And if that happens, then if Purdue doesn't make the Final Four, we'll have to denounce fandom. No, I'm kidding. I could never. I just maybe boycott watching until next year. I get duped in again. It'll be more exciting to watch next year. There won't be any Dan Levitar comments on that. Well, I think we'd have Purdue because even if you're trying to win a pool, that would be. Well, it's popular in some circles, but it would be less popular than Tennessee. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts there? Purdue cuts them down in Detroit?
Yeah, I think Purdue. This is
I just think that Purdue gets to the Elite Eight. How many simulations do they not get to the Elite Eight?
yeah, I don't know that answer, but I mean,
No, I'm just.
I got them.
But you feel good about them being the Elite Eight, right?
You do. I
So,
worry about Houston. I think that
well, I'm just talking about getting to the. We were just talking
I
about.
know. I'm not really. There's no scenario where I don't think Purdue comes out of their bracket unless there's an injury. To be honest, so yeah, to me that's not really. Purdue gets to this point with a chance to go to the Final Four on the line. I think that
We're playing the South. We're playing Houston. Like we're
yeah,
playing Houston's bracket, the South, right?
yeah. So
Well, will you be avoiding everybody's favorite team, UConn? I mean,
so
let's look up. We're not finishing this, are we?
no, I think we cut it here as far as the picks. So we have the first Final Four entrant Purdue here out of the Midwest, and then we'll finish up the South region tomorrow, along with the East and the West. The only reason we're not finishing up the South tonight is that playing game,
Yeah. So
which
we just jump to the East and the West, or whichever one has the play-in game. That's whatever. Maybe we should do those, especially the one that's got the 16 seed. So we're not really doesn't really hold us up. And then maybe save the other one, like unless we think that team's going to advance. But one of the first four teams has advanced and won a game, and so Colorado State, they're 10 now, but they're rather than 11 they've been, but they're alive. Who's the other playing game tomorrow besides the team Purdue would play?
so is that Montana and Grappling State?
That's who Purdue play. Who's the 10 seed game?
Oh, the 10 seed is Boise State, Colorado.
Oh yeah, mention that. Yeah, that's what we're holding up on. Colorado. I don't know. As soon as you think you know something, then they play.
Yeah.
We were both all over Colorado State tonight, though. That was
that's. I thought Colorado State was going to win their conference tournament, honestly.
Yeah.
But no, I think we pause it there. And we get back at it tomorrow after we see the result of this play-in.
Yeah.
My suspicion is that Colorado wins that just the way they looked against Oregon, but I don't know. And I think that if Colorado does win, I think that you're looking at Colorado advancing. But if Florida's playing Boise State, I think that Florida wins. And
yeah, I think we're both in agreement there.
So it's just
we can't do something and it's like that happens and then it just changes everything.
Yeah, no. So I mean,
that's wild, but I think a lot of Florida injuries.
Yeah, I do too. If there wasn't an injury, I think I actually would have them on this bracket here. I'm assuming that I had Florida advancing, but
they wouldn't have been the most outrageous Final Four pick with the right draw and not that injury at all. I don't think.
No, you're right. They were very, very, very hot for a while there.
Yeah, I mean, where they were playing all the best of the SEC and being.
Yeah. No, I think I would have loved to see Florida, Kentucky kind of fight for the right to play Houston to go to the Final Four. That would have been tremendous.
That'd have been sick. I think he had a successful surgery. I didn't actually see the incident. I just saw it up there and saw blood on the court. And I'm hurt his bone through. Not good. But I know. But his family, his parents are driving him up to Indianapolis to be with the team. And and support the team. So that might
Nice.
be or maybe I guess it would be Dayton they're waiting. No, so they're in Indianapolis. They're waiting for them to play. So yeah, they're going to Indianapolis. They're not have to worry about this. So they're going there. So their family's driving there, and so like that kind of thing also can really galvanize the team too. So
for sure.
I don't know. Like that's where I'm at. I just want to see how does Colorado look, because if some of my boys just say either wins, not somehow, but like they win or Colorado just, I don't know. And then on the, like it's just, so that's my stance there. I really was like really going to be big on Florida in this tournament. Like once again, like one of the 5 or 6 teams, I was like, I just keep them out of our, like, it was great. Selection Sunday was great. Like they're going through and I'm like, oh, sweet. They're not in our thing. Fantastic. So that Iowa State was plugged into the 2. All right. That's good news. Kentucky 3. Okay. It's even better. We're starting to get rid of all the teams I don't want any part of early. Auburn 4, not in our division. Sweet. Because, the biggest thing to me was that I didn't like was that, like, there for a long while there, Kentucky was a 4. And I'm thinking, they're going to put these guys in the Midwest. And, like, that's who we got to beat to get in the lead. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you get wins, you get momentum, you get past that. And it's like, yes, that Painter would have to get to some uncharted territory. But you got a situation where it's like, you got to get this done with the draw they had. I mean, there is no excuse not to be an Elite 8, and even that's a disappointing season, right? If you're Purdue. But, like, there's no, like, you should, like, literally, if you played A- to B+ game for 3 games, you're an elite, The only time if they end up having to play Tennessee that they'd have to play, like, their A game is against them. And if it's somebody else, they might, I'm sure they're going to, but, you might not have to do that.
Yeah.
So, but that's the only time where it's like Purdue will have to play a low turnover, very good game.
Yeah.
And also, I rewatched some of that Tennessee game. And like some of the, I think it was like the highlights somehow, like kind of like a quick version of the, so I saw a lot of the plays, but it was kind of like condensed. And, Braden Smith kind of like, like Lawyer had a really good game, but like he was good, but not like where he is now as far as the orchestrating. There's a lot of fouls called, so like you got, but like if you're gonna play that physical style, I guess if you're just gonna let it ride, then like we got, but that. So maybe that's the one thing. Honestly, the only thing that scares about Tennessee at all, period, is the fact that we literally just beat them constantly in everything about like football. A lot of the basketball. And they've beaten us a couple times in basketball, but it's been going back like 4 or 5 years. They beat us in the tournament, but like basically beating them in everything that matters for a while. That's that team that we beat, that Carson Edwards beat that team. That Tennessee team is better than this team.
Yeah.
And this team is really good. Now our Purdue team is better than that team, but we don't have Carson Edwards. That this team is like.
I don't know that Carson Edwards fits with this team.
No. Ivy doesn't. Yeah, there's a lot of people. But who will fit with next year's team is Cannon Catchings.
Probably.
He's going to be a dirt devil. Anyways, if you've been watching, honestly, if you have been, Colvin's been picking up minutes. He's had some crazy athletic blocks and picking up defense a lot better and rebounding. Like he had some sick blocks on like AJ Storr. AJ Storr is like one of the more athletic players that Wisconsin's had in a minute. And they've had some good players.
Yeah,
not like that, but I'm saying like Storr has a little bit more height and like wiry, like as far as like he's strong. But I'm saying like as far as like that quick twitch. And Colvin went up there and just like pin. Stuff that he's the only person that could get to that spot to pin his shot. You know what I'm saying? Like coming out of the play from behind and blocking shots. It's like, oh damn, we're going like, old school Big East Syracuse shit. Where it's like, where'd this guy come from? Like these 6'7", 6'8", just clowns blocking. And he's not even that big, tall. But I'm saying like he was just like, whoa, just jumped off the page blocking shots. And like I don't know, like when you're behind the play and you make up that ground in like a foot and a half, a play you're 5 feet out of, it's like you might have to like he's just building that confidence, and I think him and Heidi's ability to go in there and be kind of like an athletic difference maker is really something.
For sure.
He's a bucket, man. He's a bucket. It's gonna be good times. And they didn't really see that, like even though he didn't play a whole lot, but like Tennessee didn't really see that version. Like Tennessee's gotten better too. But what people don't understand is like Purdue has been doing that, in spite of not having, Heidi's been playing well, but in spite of not having that guy that can like really fill it up. And he did it against Gonzaga. He did it. He might have even done it. It might have been Tennessee. It might have been, I think it might have been Marquette. I think it might have been Tennessee a little bit, but like, I don't know. Anywho, we're going to put a wrap on, a little bow on this deal, and tomorrow in person we can knock out the rest of it. And
yeah, for sure.
All right, man.
All right.
Boy, we're up.
Yeah. Yep. We'll see you tomorrow. Yep.
Very soon.
Safe travels.
All right. Take care, brother. All right. Peace on me.